Okay, thanks for coming back for the second half of our panel here this afternoon. So as I said, we're going to shift gears a bit from hearing from the the interesting presentations we had in the first half of the panel on industry providers who are bringing product to the Hawaiian market, to preparations that are being made here locally to get ready for the introduction of electric vehicles and charging infrastructure here locally in Hawaii. And for that, this first panel on that topic, we have Art Challacombe from the City and County of Honolulu, Carlos Perez from the Hawaiian Electric Company, James Hardaway from the State of Hawaii Workforce Development Council, and Don Lippert from the Hawaii Renewable Energy Development Venture. So let's go ahead and get it kicked off with Art Challacombe from City and County of Honolulu. Thanks, Art.
Thank you, Kim. First of all, I'd like to thank Ted and Margaret for allowing the Department of Planning and Permitting, my department, to participate in this interesting and very exciting workshop. Having a great time and really looking forward to working with all of you in the future. While I was driving down here to the convention center in my 1970s vehicle, I kept thinking to myself, my car, I'm talking to some folks with starting the revolution, and I'm driving a car with an inline six, a carburetor, a a push-pull choke. And I'm saying to myself, I really feel like, let's see, like these guys. And I'm talking to you folks. But seriously, we at the Department of Planning and Permitting, we realize that the revolution's coming, that sustainable energy is what we need here in Hawaii, and we want to be part of that. So what is the permit process, and how does our department fit into what you all are achieving? Well, we have a number of different codes that will certainly apply to the installation of the charging stations, which is primarily what we will be working and assisting you all in the permitting process. Basically, we have Chapter 16, which is our building code, Chapter 17, the electric code, Chapter 18, which are the permit fees, and I think based on what I heard with the last panel, if it's around $2,000 for an installation of a home charging station, we're probably looking at about a $70 permit fee. And then lastly, Chapter 21, which is the land use ordinance, and that will most certainly apply to the condominiums and the commercial installations. So how can we help right now with the industry to get these charging stations online and the cars on the road? Well, first of all, with the computer-based system that we have at the city and county, we have what we call our online permit system. And essentially, what we would like to be able to do with the single-family residential charging station installations is the same thing we do right now with our solar permits, our single-family electrical and plumbing permits and our fence permits. All the smaller permits that we put online so that we can, with our limited resources, we can take the time to work on the bigger projects. And that's what we'd like to be able to do with the charging stations for residential. Essentially, with the online permits, the contractor, whether it's electrical or plumbing or solar contractors, they issue themselves the permit and pay for it online. Basically, they do it whenever and wherever they want. We do not get involved. We set up the system precisely so that we could do that, and essentially that's what we want to do with the electrical installations for the charging stations. Basically allow the contractor to issue and pay for his or her own permit at their leisure. And basically we will stay out of the way. Essentially we will still do the inspections. Of course that's what we will do. But that's how we want to do this. Now, to do this, what we've asked staff to do and what we have are program grants, DBED. We've asked, and we're filing a grant for DBED, with DBED to allow us to update our computer software online so that you all can do that online. The other things that we can do is we can approve the manufacturer, pre-approve. If we can do that at this time and put that into our database, then when we're ready to put our online charging station permit process in the computer, that information will be there ahead of time. On a longer term scale, what are we going to do with the commercial and the apartment uses? One of the things I have learned and am walking away with today is the importance of the condominium installations and how we're going to do that. Now, this is a little bit more tricky in that the commercial and the apartment type uses require approved parking areas, and essentially the standards for parking stalls in the city and county of Honolulu for a conventional stall, it's 8 feet 3 inches width by 18 feet long. With a compact parking space, it's 7.5 feet in width with 17 feet length for compact. One of the things we saw early on is that with the charging station, if it's a pedestal charging station, it's going to take up about 6 inches or so. So again, that would make that parking space non-conforming once it's in there. So how do we fix that? Well, there are two ways to do that, both a fast way and a longer term way. For existing parking spaces that will get the installation, what we can do is what we would call a blanket variance, is basically for all the manufacturers that would apply, we would just do a variance for those parking spaces across the board so that you wouldn't have to come in every time for a variance on that. For the new parking spaces, for new development, we would do a land use ordinance amendment through the City Council to accommodate charging stations in the multifamily and commercial sectors. And lastly, what we'd like to do is do the same thing on our online system for the commercial and multifamily uses. Basically, get out of the way so that folks like yourselves can do your job and get those charging stations and vehicles on the road. And with that, I want to thank you all again. If you're interested in seeing what our Honline system is all about, please go to our webpage. That's www.honoluludpp.org. You'll see it right there, and it's a really great system, especially for the proposed charging systems that will be installed. Thank you very much.
Good, Art. Thanks for that information. And something you said, I was talking about with some friends the other day about, just thinking about the vehicles we were all driving 20, 30 years ago. And, they were carbureted systems and really didn't have a lot of computer control. And you look at the evolution of those vehicles and what we're driving today. And so in 20 or 30 years, there's been a dramatic change in the technology in vehicles that we're driving today. And so I think what we're looking at now is an even more dramatic paradigm shift in the technology. So I'm excited myself to see that change and be a part of it.